6. Wayfinder Wealth Management, navigating the journey together, located at 1101 South Broadway. Securities and investment advisory services offered through FSC Securities Corporation, member FINRA SIPC. FSC is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of FSC.
Serving radio listeners on the Central Coast for over 20 years. Ben Heighes and Information Network on the Information Station, AM 1440 KUHL Santa Maria.
7:32, good morning. Information now. We'll check more news on the way, but as part of our local news segment, it's time to talk food with our favorite grocery gal, Amy Goldsmith. Amy's helped to launch and grow some of the most well-known brands that many of us eat or at least see on the grocery shelves. She's a food industry insider and lives her life as a food finder, looking for the best new products and trends. You can follow Amy and direct message her any questions through Facebook and also on Instagram at The Grocery Gal. First of all, Amy, welcome back to the show. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben.
So we had another listener call in and ask about bottled water. They want to know what actually is in those bottles and the difference between the various waters. You know, there's distilled, purified spring water. So we want the beef on water here.
Sure. Well, distilled water is a type of purified water that has been has all the contaminants and the minerals removed. But the purified water has had the chemicals and contaminants removed, but it still may contain minerals. So what happens with distillation boils water and then condenses this thing back into a liquid to remove the impurities and then again the minerals. So distilled water is safe to drink, but you'll probably find that it tastes, like flat or bland. And that's because it's stripped of the minerals like calcium, sodium, and magnesium that give tap water that sort of familiar flavor.
So many people might be wondering the point of distilled water. I will tell you that my wife uses what's called a CPAP machine for sleeping. So she has sleep apnea, and we use distilled water for that. So are there other purposes, though?
I mean, that's exactly a great point, is that because it's stripped of the minerals and like calcium, it's really good for appliances because then it doesn't calcify. So you said, the machine or an iron or a steamer. And some say that drinking distilled water is better for your body, but there are conflicting studies, so I'm in no position to comment on that. But like you said, it is better for appliances.
All right, now to one of those myths I keep hearing. Some people say the water in bottled water is no different than water from the sink. So, Amy, what have you found out about this?
That's actually true in many instances. Only about 55% of bottled water is actually spring water. The other 45% of brands is mostly treated tap water. So, for example, Aquafina, a popular brand we see everywhere, that's Pepsi's bottled water. And Dasani, that's Coke's bottled water. And those are both from municipal water sources. So, listen, bottled water is really about convenience. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but I actually remember when bottled water that everyone started, walking around and carrying it became a thing. And I remember actually Seinfeld at one point commenting, like, when did everyone get so thirsty? Because everyone's walking around with bottled water. It's really about a convenience thing. So, yeah, a lot of it is tap water.
Okay. So what's the difference between, let's say, spring water and purified water, or, is there a difference?
So spring water and purified water actually come from the same source. But purified water, like I said earlier, undergoes a more rigorous purification process. So the choice between the two actually depends on access, and it comes down to personal preference and taste. People who like spring water like the taste because of the natural minerals in there, and others prefer purified water because it's been clarified through high-grade water purification systems like the kind that you can find in a home or a business.
All right. We have Amy Goldsmith, our grocery gal, joining us here on KUHL. The time's 7:36. Well, now there's a lot of plastic bottles, and people are probably thinking that might be bad for the environment. Is it even safe to drink water from a plastic bottle anyway?
Oh, that's a great question. Many people think that the plastic that the bottle is made of is bad for our health, and it actually isn't that much. I mean, bottles do release a very tiny amount of chemicals into the water inside. This amount is theoretically not harmful for our health. However, the problem does occur when the plastic bottle is exposed to high temperatures, including sun. So if you leave that water bottle in the car on a hot summer day, that could be a problem. the experts note that with the rise of the temperature, plastic releases hazardous levels of antimony, which is a chemical element that can be toxic in large doses. So ideally, keep your bottle safe in the shade. But we never know what condition the bottle was kept in before we bought it from the store, to be honest. But considering the plastic itself, bottled water is okay to drink as long as it was kept in good condition. But to your point, water bottle garbage is a major source of pollution. So using a reusable bottle like the Hydro Flask or the Swells is just a great way to help the environment and save money.
I was just thinking about this. I often reuse my water bottles, so after I buy it from the store, I'll refill it with water and then put it in the fridge. Is that a good idea, do you think, or not?
I don't think it's bad. I think that you need to be careful because those water bottles actually can get more moldy and contain contaminants more than maybe a glass of water out of the sink. So tests have shown that those bottles can become more contaminated faster. So I don't know if it's a great idea. I don't think it's a bad idea. But if you can ensure that bottle has been kept out of the sun and safe, and you could probably use it 1 or 2 times. I don't think it's bad.
Okay, yeah, that's the point, is to keep it out of the sun, though. And then I know when I go shopping at the store and I'm looking for bottled water, I open the container where they keep all the water, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't know which ones to get. So what are the best bottled water brands out there?
That's, it's another aisle where it can be really overwhelming. So I did some research, and according to the data that I found, and this is based on the quality of the water in terms of how many chemicals can be found in the water, and the waters with the optimal pH. The best bottled waters are number 1, Fiji brand. Number 2, Evian. Number 3, Nestle Pure Life, which you can find in a lot of places. Number 4, a brand called Alkaline 88. And then Smart Water for number 5, but reports say that it's safe, but it's kind of not all that much better than tap water, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the Fiji being number 1.
Okay, and then speaking of tap water, is it safe to drink water from the tap?
Listen, in the United States, around 85% of the tap water is reported safe. We do hear these stories about Flint, Michigan, and those kinds of things. There are tap water issues in all the states that are caused by violations of the EPA Safe Drinking Water Act. And that can affect as much as 77 million Americans nationwide. There's problems with lead, there's problems with arsenic, radioactive contaminants, bacteria and viruses, and pesticides. Those are just some of the hazardous substances that you can find in tap water. But for the most part, tap water in the U.S. is safe. But if you're concerned about your tap water, you can call or visit your local water commission for a report. They will have it.
All right, you can be your own Aaron Brockovich, I guess, right?
This is true. Exactly.
All right, and of course, also, what I do is I actually have a filter at my house. So it's, you pour the tap water into the filter in this container, and it kind of filters the water, and then I drink what's left over. So I don't know if you do that, Amy, or not.
I don't. We have a filter in our sink
that
does it, that's built in. But be careful with those as well, because those need to be cleaned properly, and those filters need to be changed.
Okay, and also we've wondered, it says Fiji on the water, so someone might think the water's actually from Fiji, and it says Arrowhead water, so is it from Lake Arrowhead? What's the deal with this?
Well, I can tell you this. The Fiji water is actually from Fiji. So the Fiji water is Fiji water. There are a few rules that bottled water brands have to follow, and in order to be called, let's say, a spring water, a product has to be either collected at the point where the water flows naturally into the Earth's surface, or from a borehole that taps into an underground source. But unlike the term spring water, other terms like glacier water or mountain water are not regulated, so it may not be from a pristine area. And while many spring water brands started out selling water from a single source, like Lake Arrowhead, a large portion now draws from multiple springs because demand has grown to the point where the quantity of water available from these natural springs isn't enough, or the springs have been overpumped, or the groundwater levels dropped and caused them to dry up. So the answer is no. The water isn't necessarily coming from its namesake. So, in fact, Nestle owns a number of these regional brands like Arrowhead or Poland Springs, if you're familiar with that area in Maine. So but again, they're pulling from different water sources, so it's not necessarily from Poland Springs or from Arrowhead. And you know how I always say read the labels?
Right, yeah.
In this case, the FDA does not require bottled water companies to disclose the source of water or contaminants on the label. I think they should.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, in this case, it really doesn't matter if you read those labels.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if people could read the label and determine, right there if they tell you where the water, where it comes from, but I guess not.
They don't.
Yeah.
And, again, like a brand like Fiji will, because the water is actually coming from Fiji.
Right.
Fiji water is owned by a company called the Wonderful Company, which you may be familiar with, especially in the Central Coast. They make the wonderful pistachios and wonderful almonds, and they also manufacture POM, P-O-M, the pomegranate juice.
Okay.
They're a large agricultural company, and one of their prize jewels in the crown is Fiji water from Fiji.
All right, well, that's good to know. So hopefully that clears up that mystery a bit, but always some great information here as we talk water. And with Grocery Gal Amy Goldsmith, you can follow Amy and direct message her any questions through Facebook and also on Instagram at The Grocery Gal. Amy, thanks for your hard work on this. And I think we're going to be talking about bread maybe the next visit here, but we'll find out with you next time.
Great, Ben. Thanks so much.
All right, 7:43. Don't forget birthdays and anniversary wishes if you've got them. 928-1440 is my number.
Cropland Health, a Lompoc original, open daily 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. What is Cropland Health? Well, it's easy to grasp what they're talked about, and we'd like to remind you they will price match and beat competitors' prices. They do have in-store sales and pickup and delivery, and are following all Santa Barbara County mandated COVID-19 precautions. You can order online at croplandhealth.com. Visit the store, 321 North 2nd Street in Lompoc, or call 805-3